everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing something a bit different here. I wanted to actually talk about some different sleeves that you could potentially use for your deck. Now the reason why I wanted to actually make this particular video is because on some of my videos I do get comments on people asking me about what sleeves I actually use for my decks. So I'm going to tell you guys what I use right now, and I'm also going to tell you a bit about what I've been using since I actually started playing card games, and of course a bit of a small review on each one as to, I guess, give you guys an idea of which sleeves are best to use for whichever kinds of card games you're playing. However, before I get started, I would like to remind you guys to consider dropping a like, share, comment and subscribe if you still haven't. It really does help the channel. But with that being said, let's begin. So I have here two decks. Now one is for Pokemon and another one is for Yu-Gi-Oh! So this one is actually the deck that I recently profiled, or at least did a test hand video on, and this is the Crusadia deck. Now for all of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks I use KMC Hypermat Minis. So these are really nice sleeves, by the way. They do have some sort of weird texture to it, I guess. Like, I don't know if you guys can actually see it, but there is some kind of texture on the back, and some people might not like this particular field because it's a bit more pronounced than the typical sleeve out there. For example, let's say we turn back the time to around 2011. Around that time, KMCs weren't really a thing yet. It was mainly the basic ultrapro, I guess, pro mat sleeves. So at that time you had these type of ultrapro sleeves, right? And they had that particular holographic symbol right there of the ultrapro branding or logo. And during that time, this was really the only good sleeve that was actually available at the time. You had either a glossy version or you had the matte version. I have the matte version right here, but the glossy option was also available. So when it came to the glossy version, a lot of people did like the shine of the card, but then the matte version did also give a new feel, though the matte version did come a lot later after the glossy version was already in high popularity. So when it came to that, both of them were really great at shuffling. However, a lot of people did complain about the sleeves actually splitting when it came to shuffling, so clearly there was still some manufacturing issues, but given that there were no other sleeves at that time, this was still the best option, and till this day I still think this is a great sleeve to use. I think a lot of people would definitely not like that, which is why they eventually shifted it so that they put like this clear holographic symbol there, and even then a lot of people still didn't like it. However, it did have less of a texture at the back compared to the KMC minis, and even then a lot of the other newer sleeves out there right now, like Dragon Shields and Ultimate Guards, they all have this weird texture at the back. However, it is all designed as a means to actually minimize or at least enhance the shuffling feel of it, so it's a lot more smooth compared to the Ultra Pro ones, and I do find that to be very true. But in terms of whether or not you like the texture, I think a lot of people who don't like that pronounced texture to these newer sleeves would prefer the old Ultra Pro sleeves out there. I used to start off using these, and eventually after 3 or 4 years, so around 2014, 2015, that was when I started converting all my decks into the KMC Hypermat Minis. So yeah, I only used a lot of the Ultra Pro matte sleeves as well as the glossy sleeves for my decks, and I have different colors as well, but like I said, with well, like I've been doing on this channel for a long time already, and the fact that there's now Project E where I'm actually getting rid of decks, you can see that I have built up so many different decks out there, and the fact that I have to switch cards around, it was just becoming so messy. So it's one of the reasons why I stopped using these colored sleeves for all my decks. I used to buy so many different colors of the Ultra Pro's Pro Matte sleeves as well as the glossy sleeves, just to sleeve up every single deck I had out there. But the issue was, it became such a mess when I was taking cards out of the sleeves to put into the other ones, just so that I could play with a different deck at a time. And it was becoming really difficult, so I decided to convert everything to one color, and I chose to go with the white color. It was just a more interesting color at the time, of course, and till now I still like it, of course. But all of my Yu-Gi-Oh decks were sleeved up in Hypermat Minis, so I've pretty much been using these Hypermat Minis since 2015, so a long time, and I've never changed it since. I've never had any issues because every single year I would buy out some more supplies for these sleeves, of course, and none of these sleeves in this deck are from the same pack. They're all from different packs or different occasions of when I actually went out to buy KMC sleeves. So a lot of it's messed, but you can tell here it feels so smooth. Like, you could tell that this is definitely very well manufactured, because if it wasn't, it would actually have some sleeves bigger and some sleeves actually smaller than the other. So as a review of the KMC Hypermat Minis, I highly recommend it. It's actually really good that you get these, particularly for Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a great shuffle feel as well. Like, I'm shuffling it right now. It's fantastic, it's smooth, and these are glossy as well. You know, these aren't even matte sleeves. These are glossy sleeves, but they're so fantastic. They're so good in terms of the feel. So definitely really amazing there. However, if you guys still want to use the Ultra Pro sleeves, you can definitely use it. The only thing, or the only downside to the sleeves for Ultra Pro is that they might split on you compared to the KMCs. I've never had a KMC sleeve truly split on me before with the Ultra Pro sleeves. I think they've split maybe once or twice on me, but just because of that small thing that happened, I do prefer the KMC Hypermat Minis. The other thing is that the Hypermat Minis don't have any kind of holographic symbol to them, whereas if you look at the Ultra Pro, they still do make the symbols there, which is definitely quite pesky. However, what I will say is the Ultra Pro sleeves have actually upgraded, because you guys already can expect that, yes, there is the actual Ultra Pro Eclipse sleeves. So the Eclipse sleeves are basically the premium version of the Ultra Pro sleeve, and I basically bought the Pro Matte version of it to sleeve up all my extra deck cards. And when it came to the extra deck cards, because they were a bit more valuable, I didn't want to, I guess, put it into just one sleeve like so. So this one, there's only one sleeve and there's a card right underneath there. However, with the extra deck cards, I guess, I put in the KMC Perfect Fit sleeves as well. And basically what I do is I double sleeve it. So you can see that there's actually a sleeve right here on this card, and it goes in here. So most of my extra deck cards are actually double sleeved like so. And this is just to prevent air from getting into the cards. And when air gets in, obviously it causes the card to warp. So with this, you can see there's very minimal warping actually occurring with my card here. So it's definitely something I would recommend you do with at least more valuable cards. In this case, the extra deck cards. Try to double sleeve them. It definitely works out and just prevents warping of your cards. But yeah, with that being said, it is definitely really nice. The Ultra Pro Eclipse is something I use for all my extra deck cards. I also use them for my GOAT decks as well. I just haven't actually profiled any GOAT decks here because I just don't really engage in it as much as like the main stuff, of course. But yeah, the Ultra Pro Eclipse definitely highly recommend as well. You could use them for your main deck. A lot of people have actually complained that it does get a bit sticky at the back. I don't know why. Maybe it's because after you touch it for a while, it causes certain residues of, I don't know, like your hands will sweat, your hands will get oily, and when you touch it, it does leave some kind of residue of some sort after long-term play. So if you use it in the main deck, it tends to get that way because you're obviously interacting with your main deck a lot more than your extra deck. So I've used it only for my extra deck, which is why I have no issues with it, but I've also used it in my GOAT decks as well. But as I said earlier, I don't play with GOAT as much as I do the normal game, so I haven't experienced any issues with the Eclipse sleeves yet. However, it is something you definitely have to keep in mind. But I would still definitely recommend you use the ultrapro Eclipse sleeves as well as the KMC Hypermat Minis, because they all are consistent. I've bought many of the ultrapro Eclipse sleeves to sleeve up all my extra deck cards, and the fact that all the sleeves are still the same size despite coming from different packs, it's fantastic, it's great. However, there is one more sleeve I wanted to actually talk about. Now, unfortunately, I won't talk about Dragon Shield because I don't use Dragon Shield. It's just a personal preference. I've never actually gone out of my way to go buy them or try them out. Because of that, I can't really give you guys much of an opinion on those particular sleeves. But the last sleeves I actually wanted to talk about here is what I use for my Pokemon deck. So this here is the Ultimate Guard Katana sleeves. So this here is one of the Pokemon decks that I have, and essentially these sleeves are designed to be very opaque, I guess, so you can't see anything through them, so that's definitely a huge bonus. As you can see here from a distance, I could still see, you guys might not be able to see in the camera, but I can still see a little bit of the Yu-Gi-Oh card back to it, just a slight amount. So I'm just glad it didn't really raise any issues there, but this one's completely opaque. I can't see a single thing out there, so it's definitely well designed. But with that being said, this is the Ultimate Guard Katana sleeves. They are very nice sleeves. They actually have, if anything, a better shuffle feel than the KMC Hypermat Minis, so that's definitely a huge bonus there. And this also doesn't have any holographic logos on them, so it's very nice. The thing about this though is that they do also have a certain texture that might not be as desirable for you guys. The KMC Hypermat Minis, the Ultimate Guard Katanas, and the Ultra Pro Eclipse all have a certain texture that is just sometimes not preferred by people, so they just tend to go with the regular Ultra Pro Matte sleeves again. But yeah, that's just an example there, of course. Now, there is one big downside to the Katana sleeves here. The issue with the Ultimate Guard Katana sleeves is that they are much more new, so it's not an old product, it's not something that's been out for long, and because of that there are actually some manufacturing issues, and I would like to bring this to attention with Ultimate Guard themselves, and that is the fact that their sleeves are not the same size. For example, some sleeves are actually bigger than others, which causes certain issues when holding onto them. So not all my cards are actually are using the same packs of sleeves. You know, some of them are using one pack of sleeves, and then other cards I'm using from another pack of sleeves that I bought on a different occasion. It's just that with Pokemon, I switch around the cards just as I do with Yu-Gi-Oh! And because of that, I obviously mix and match the sleeves up, but the issue with mixing and matching is that it causes this terrible feel. I mean, you can feel it, it's very pronounced. You can tell that one sleeve is clearly bigger than the other, and I can't really show it on camera, obviously, but you can see here, I'm leveling the actual cards up here, right? I'm actually leveling it really evenly here, and you can still see these seams come off. And that's not even me exaggerating it. This is me trying to keep it as straight as possible. And you can clearly tell that the sleeve is bigger than the other ones there. So some of my sleeves are bigger than others, and it just causes such a huge issue. I think this could be a big issue if you were to play in real events, because you could have your opponent potentially accusing you of cheating in the game, just because one sleeve is so much bigger than the others. And because of this particular inconsistency, I do worry about these sleeves actually working out for the player in an actual event. If you're someone who likes to go to big events and play a lot of different things, even something like locals, right? Doing this, or using these particular sleeves, it's not recommended whatsoever. Like, aside from the shuffle feel, which is brilliant, aside from the actual glossiness here, which is also fantastic, aside from the opaqueness of the backing, which is actually really good, the issue is the sleeves are just not consistently sized, and because of that, I definitely have to raise this concern that it's not something you want to risk. So personally, although everything about it is good, that's the only issue I have, and because of that, I actually don't recommend you use the Ultimate Guard Katana sleeves. They're actually not great in that particular regard, and until they actually fix that problem, I don't think I'll be buying any more of the Ultimate Guard Katana sleeves. I'm actually planning on converting these Pokemon cards into different sleeves instead, so I'm actually trying to look into the Dragon Shield next. But yeah, just using these Ultimate Guard Katanas, I just felt disappointed because everything else was so good. You know, if it were consistently sized, it would actually be better than the KMC Hypermat Minis, it would be better than the Ultra Pro clips. Like, the shuffle feel is amazing, by the way. I think it's probably the best shuffle feel ever, and it's a shame that it just had to get ruined by the actual sizing of these sleeves. So yeah, that's pretty much it for what I use in all of my decks. These are just the sleeves I've chosen throughout time. If you guys have any thoughts about other sleeves, definitely let me know. The Dragon Shield sleeves is something I'm deciding on actually going for when it comes to Pokemon, so I would like to try that out eventually. But with that being said, definitely leave me your thoughts as to how Dragon Shields might have worked for you, because I would like to know, and that way I could get a good idea. Otherwise, definitely leave me your thoughts as to which sleeves you guys actually use yourselves, and which ones you actually like if you use multiples of them. But with that being said, thanks for joining me today. I hope you all have a fantastic day. I'll see you all next time.